When I saw this pop up on my screen, I said, I have to do an update on this. Because if you remember, I did a video about this guy, and he was a DNU story that I did back in May of this year. And the only reason I remember it was back in May is because I skimmed through the article and I saw the original date of what originally happened. We have this football player by the name of DeAndre Baker, who they said he, and I believe it was somebody else, was involved in an armed robbery of some jewelry or something of the sort of that nature. Well, this article just came out 13 minutes ago, and I'm recording this on November 16, 2020, where they say the armed robbery charges have been dropped against the former New York Giants cornerback. Armed robbery charges against former New York Giants player DeAndre Baker were dropped Monday, and the attorney for his accusers was arrested for extortion for allegedly soliciting a cash payout on their behalf in exchange for an altered testimony. You know what's so crazy? If the people who did this, who was arrested, had a good case, they would qualify for a DNU for getting themselves involved with an extortion and ruining a case that they probably could have won. But I'm glad they slipped up, because now this actually could probably hopefully clear DeAndre Baker, and it probably will, because they said they dropped the charges against him. But unfortunately for him, he also ended up getting dropped from the team. Now, it's up to the Giants whether or not they want to bring this guy back. But we're going to go ahead and read more into the story. Baker was charged in August with 4 counts of armed robbery stemming from an incident in which Baker was accused of stealing cash and watches from 4 men at gunpoint at a house party in Miramar, Florida on May 13th. The charges against Baker were based on 3 statements by the victims, who claimed Baker was one of the assailants. The decision to drop the charges come after his accusers and other witnesses to the alleged crime have become uncooperative, and their credibility is inalterably tarnished, according to a letter from the Assistant State Attorney Paul R. Valcour of the Broward County State's Attorney Office. The letter also announced that William Dean, an attorney for 3 of the alleged victims, was arrested on Monday for extortion related to soliciting a cash payout on behalf of the 3 accusers in exchange for an altered testimony. So everybody who's on the side of the accusers of this guy are just all filthy, especially the attorney, who looks like he's the whole puppet master behind the whole thing. The new testimonies from the 3 alleged victims, provided in sworn affidavits that were identical in content, recanted their previous sworn statements and asserted that they did not get an accurate look at the events as they occurred, that DeAndre Baker was present but not involved in any criminal act, and that they were not robbed or assaulted, according to the letter. We feel as if justice has finally been served for DeAndre, said Baker's attorney Patrick G. Patel in a written statement. All along, I have been guaranteeing a dismissal and said unequivocally that this was an extortion case. We thank the Broward County's prosecutor's office for doing what co-counsel Brad Cohen and I have been demanding from day one. CNN has been unable to reach William Dean, whom the Broward Sheriff's Office remains in jail at this time. It is unclear if Dean has legal representation. Imagine you, who is an attorney who needs legal representation. Michael Rotundo, a partner of Dean's in the law firm Ford, Dean and Rotundo, told CNN that the law firm had no comment at this time and is still trying to gather the facts regarding the situation. Baker was arrested in May with Quentin Dunbar of the Seattle Seahawks, but Broward County prosecutors did not file charges against Dunbar, citing insufficient evidence. In September, the Giants waived Baker, a cornerback, saying that he had not participated in team activity since the alleged incident. The NFL has its own investigation into the incident, which is ongoing. So it could be a slight chance that they might bring him back. Says we have been monitoring all developments in the matter, which remain under review of the NFL's personal conduct policy. NFL spokesman Brian McCarthy told CNN. Baker remains subject to discipline based on results of that investigation at this time, and following today's disposition, Baker is eligible to sign with a club. Baker is a former first-round draft pick, have been selected by the Giants 30th overall in the 2019 draft. Well, you know what? Now, like knowing this and everything like that, now it's making me have to walk back my statements that I made about this guy back then. And for that, I can honestly, sincerely say that I apologize. See, this is me taking accountability for what happened. But you also, at the same time, you got to understand, at the time, it looked very shady. Like, it's like, what was this guy doing where he just got drafted in the first round in last year, and he gets caught up in something like this fast? And I think the other guy, I don't know if he got drafted last year, but he was fairly new. He wasn't like, I don't think he was a rookie, but he was fairly new to the NFL. And it's like, why would you, as a person who just got the contract of a lifetime that many people don't even get the chance to get, why would you engage in that kind of behavior? But now that all of this is coming to the surface, now the pieces of the puzzle are putting themselves together. And this guy was completely innocent the entire time. So I'm glad that they got all of this cleared up. I wish that it didn't have to come to this, and I'm mad that it got dragged out for this long. As far as that William Dean, that attorney, and those other accusers, they need to have the book thrown at them. I'm talking about have them tied up in all types of litigation and legal facilities for what they did to this man. But it's a good thing they caught it sooner, because this thing could have dragged on for a long time. But the fact that it dragged for this long at all is an issue, because this guy lost his livelihood as soon as he got started. So, but also I would say this to DeAndre Baker. He is in his own right, a public figure now. He plays for an NFL team. He has to be, let me rephrase it. He has to choose who he's going to hang around with. He can't go back to how his old life was, because people will try to hem him up and get him caught up in some stuff that will ruin him. Now, see, the court of public opinion, luckily at the time when all of this was happening, it was in the midst of quarantine, the, woo-woo, I think Ahmaud Arbery. I think Ahmaud Arbery just happened. It was about to happen. So a lot of stuff was going on with his situation that it got buried underneath all of that, to the point where it didn't blow up. And then on top of that, he's not a franchise player. He's a rookie. So that also helped him in the long run, because if he was like a franchise player, like say what happened with Ray Rice, they would have blew this up. And the court of public opinion would have allowed that thing to keep going on and festering, even when innocence really came out in his favor. So like I said, my advice to him is that he just needs to be careful around the company that he keeps. Be selective about the people he chooses to let around him in his circle, because his life is changing now. He's in another tax bracket. So people are going to try to leech off of him and steer him into a direction that he doesn't need to be in. So he pretty much got off by the skin of his teeth with this one. Because imagine if this latest revelation didn't come to the surface, he would still be stuck in the same position. With that being said, y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments.